Amazing encounter. A black boy's touching journey to help a lost girl reveals a hidden truth. The autumn sun painted the woods in shades of gold as Malik ventured deeper into the embrace of towering trees. Laughter echoed around him, but the rhythm of his heart danced to a different beat. He had always been the smart black kid, and while the label came with the pride of high grades, it also carried whispers of doubt, an unyielding pressure to not just succeed, but excel beyond expectations. "I won't let them down," he silently vowed, but that thought weighed heavy like the damp earth beneath his sneakers. As the leaves crunched underfoot, a flicker of brilliance caught Malik's eye, pulling him further from his friends and deeper into the woods. Then he saw her. Ava sat frozen on a fallen log, her pale face a canvas for fear. "Hi, I'm Malik. Are you lost?" he asked, noticing the glimmer of tears brimming in her eyes. She nodded, her silent pain mirrored in his heart. He recalled the warm teachings of his mother, a steadfast commitment to kindness. It was instinct to help, yet a chill nipped at his resolve. They began to walk, the chattering of birds replaced by an awkward tension between them. "Do you go to Oakwood Middle?" she asked, breaking the silence, her voice trembling like a fragile leaf. Malik nodded, sharing snippets of his life, laden with pressures and ambitions. The air became thick with confessions as Ava responded. Her father's small business withered like dry leaves, crushed by the weight of bills. He felt her struggles resonating within him, and yet a gnawing doubt stirred. Should I be talking to her? My friends wouldn't understand. They'd laugh, he thought, skirting the edge of unease. At that moment, Malik's heart felt like a pendulum in a storm. Doubt clashed with empathy, swinging precariously in the overwhelming silence of the woods. Could he forge a friendship here, a bridge between their worlds? Would others see it for what it was, understanding and support, or would it be tainted by his skin and her name? He paused, cradling a memory of his grandfather's journal, recently unearthed from their attic. It spoke of mystery and connections buried deep, heritage intertwined in ways he had yet to comprehend. What if my family is part of her story? The thought struck him hard, trembling with implications. His bloodline was alive, roots that stretched and coiled around truths hidden for too long. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue.
With each step back towards town, Malik grappled with the vision of the future he once held tightly. Fear coiled around him. Could he ignite change just by standing beside Ava? What if the town's whispers tangled around them like choking vines? Malik found himself at a crossroads, where loyalty waged war against a yearning for justice. The circle of friends he loved loomed large in his mind, each face a reminder of the laughter he might lose. Ava's hand brushed against his in an innocent gesture, and his breath hitched. The gravity of that moment pressed down on him, spinning his world into chaos. Would he choose to step into the light with her? The trees loomed as silent witnesses to his turmoil, shadows deepening around them. What lay ahead was unfathomable, and Malik's heart ached between the expectations of family and the desperate need for honesty. Would he muster the strength to shatter the chains that bound their worlds? The stirring winds whispered possibilities, leaving him haunted by unease as the boundary between right and wrong blurred with each step. Malik's footsteps quickened as he and Ava emerged from the shadows of the forest. The bright sunlight had shifted, casting long shadows that danced across the pavement ahead. Each step felt laden with consequences, and his mind spun with the potential reactions of his friends. Would they laugh? Would they reprimand him for straying from the expected path of conformity? He gestured for Ava to slow down as they reached the edge of town, and for a split second he felt an overwhelming urge to turn back. But deep inside, an ember ignited, a cry for courage against the weight of societal norms. What they think shouldn't matter, Malik thought, his heart pumping determination into his veins. Yet as they neared the first row of houses, anxiety seeped back in. The vibrant homes radiated an unwelcoming familiarity, each one a reminder of expectations and assumptions. "What's wrong?" Ava's voice, quiet and barely audible, cut through Malik's spiraling thoughts. Her concern tugged at him, intertwining empathy with vulnerability. He opened his mouth, ready to mask his fears with bravado, but the truth cascaded out instead. "I'm just wondering how this will play out," he murmured, stealing a glance at her. He watched her expression shift, an understanding flickering in her eyes. You mean what your friends will think? He hesitated, the weight of that question hanging heavy in the air. His friends defined his world, their laughter his soundtrack, their approval his shield. But choosing to align himself with Ava felt like stepping into a quieter yet more profound symphony. Yeah, he admitted, offering a glimpse into his conflicts. It's just hard. I don't want to lose what I have. The softness of Ava's smile broke through the tension. You won't lose me, she replied, any more resolute than a seasoned sailor facing a storm. In that moment, Malik realized that this was not merely about popularity or acceptance. It transcended beyond the surface. This was an act of connection, of courage, and ultimately of understanding. He had the power to shift the narrative, to show that kindness could triumph over fear. They crossed paths with a group of his friends, their boisterous laughter ringing out as they lounged against a fence. Malik's heart raced, caught in a web of dread and hope. This was his moment. Would he stand tall, emboldened by the warmth growing inside him, or would he retreat into the shadows? He took a steadying breath. "Hey, Malik, who's that?" one of them taunted, a playful glint in his eye. Laughter rippled through the group, each sound an unspoken challenge. Malik felt an instinctual urge to shrink, to protect Ava from the projected scorn, but as he stood there, the moment stretched. In a sudden rush of clarity, he straightened his shoulders. "This is Ava. She's new here," he announced, surprising even himself with the defiance that tainted his voice. His friends paused, the laughter waning, eyes shifting from him to Ava and back again. "What, are you serious?" Another scoffed, disbelief laden in his tone. A wave of skepticism washed over Malik, yet he held his ground. "Yeah, I am. We were just talking." Silence fell. Malik's pulse quickened as the tension morphed into an electric anticipation. The moment felt like a tipping point, as if the world narrowed to just them. Malik standing firm, and Ava beside him, fearless amidst the brewing storm. Instead of backpedaling, Malik embraced the uncertainty. The words bubbled forth. "I think we can do better than this. We can choose to be friends. It's time to break those stupid barriers." The shocked expressions on his friends' faces mirrored the whirlwind in Malik's heart. What if his boldness ignited acceptance instead of derision? The rush of adrenaline coursed through him. But would their laughter play on? Or would they rise with him, embracing the struggle for understanding? As the winds of change howled around them, something shifted. A new beginning beckoned, promising both freedom and fear. In the distance, Malik glimpsed a figure lurking, eyes narrowed and lips curling disdainfully. A realization struck. The real battle was about to unfold, and he would have to confront not just the whispers among friends, but the weight of societal judgment looming. Would he have the strength to hold on, or would the pressure crush him into silence? As a chilling wind gusted through the trees, Malik felt both terrified and exhilarated, knowing that the choices he made next would define him forever. What awaited him at the next turn could change everything he thought he knew about himself and those around him. Malik's heart raced as silence enveloped the small group. He stood at the precipice of something monumental, caught between two diverging paths.
As eyes bore into him, judgments unspoken, every muscle in his body was taut with tension. Ava, standing resolutely at his side, seemed a lighthouse in the tempest of his doubt. "Why would you even bother with someone like her?" the friend who had first spoken snorted, the challenge in his voice just a pebble's throw away from ridicule. Malik felt the heat rising in his cheeks, but this time it wasn't embarrassment. It was the heat of determination. "Because I want to." The word slipped from his lips before he could overthink the consequences. The resolute tone filled the air like a wall, setting up a barrier between himself and his friends. The group stared at him as if he'd grown a second head. "Yeah, right," the second friend chimed in, smirking. "You think she's cool or something?" The laughter returned, but this time it felt less threatening, more like a pointed question waiting for an answer. Malik grappled with embarrassment and the urge to crawl back into a cocoon of safety. Yet in that moment, the stakes grew clearer in his mind. Staying silent would mean surrendering not just to their expectations, but to his own deepest fears. "No, I think she's..."
Interesting. She's different, he said, the passion swelling in his chest. That ember within him burned brighter, turning doubt into rising flames of conviction. Different? What's so special about her? She's just new, another friend chimed, squinting skeptically at Ava. Malik felt an unexpected sense of protectiveness wash over him. The casual dismissal of her value stung. Who would they become, reduced to mocking anyone outside their circle? What if we look at it this way? Malik replied, thrusting his chin forward defiantly. What if we're the ones missing out? She has a story, just like us. Maybe she can teach us something. The moment hung heavy, and he could see the gears shifting in his friend's expressions. Malik's boldness challenged them, but he needed to push further. You know what? I think it's time for something different. I'm tired of pretending to fit into your boxes. Let's be better than that. A split second of shock simmered in the silence that followed, before a chorus of mixed reactions ensued. Some teetered on the edge of acceptance, while others harbored skepticism, battling the determination rising in Malik's spirit. As the din of their responses filled the air, Malik caught Ava's eye. In it swirled a mixture of gratitude and admiration. That connection fortified his resolve. Amid the murmurings, he realized this wasn't just about defending her. This was about defining himself, who he wanted to be in the eyes of the world, and amidst peer pressures that had, until now, shaped him. But amidst the raucous chatter, Malik registered a shadow behind the group, the same looming figure from the distance, now standing closer, face dark and unreadable.
It was a reminder that the confrontation he faced wasn't solely with his friends, but with the glaring judgment that always trailed behind him, a weighty shadow following him as he challenged societal norms. Could he outrun it? "Let's see how big your mouth is when everyone knows your name," the figure teased, stepping closer. Malik's heart slammed against his ribs, feeling the all-too-familiar anger rising. They had come so far, yet it seemed the true test had only begun. Now he would have to confront the standard and stand tall against this new, threatening adversary. With a surge of clarity, Malik grasped the moment. His intrinsic worth wasn't dictated by them or by the looming presence of judgment. Today, he would walk alongside Ava, this fledgling path to transformation extending just before him. What awaited him was uncertainty laced with discovery. The journey was now as much about his growth as it was about acceptance. As Malik squared his shoulders against the challenge at hand, he felt ready. How did one face judgment and come out stronger? He didn't know, but he was primed to find out. Would the unfolding conflict reveal his allies among friends, or forge new ones in unexpected places? The countless possibilities danced like a flickering flame, daring him to leap into the unknown. Malik's heart pounded as the taunting figure loomed closer, a reminder of the expectations that tainted the thrill of his newfound resolve. The tension crackled in the air, each word, each sneer from his friends, a test of the convictions he had just begun to formulate. Malik felt the strength of his words, but wondered if they truly held weight against the icy grip of judgment that encircled him. "What do you know about her?" he shot back, the heat of his anger lending him an unexpected courage. The emphasis on "you" felt like a declaration of war against the skepticism aimed at them both. "Enough to know that she's just another face in this town," the figure smirked, folding arms across his chest, an army of condescension. Malik internally flinched at the judgment, but in that moment he recognized a defining truth. He was laying bare what many felt, yet were too afraid to express openly: the right to stand with Ava, regardless of the opinions swirling around them. Each breath he took rallied his thoughts, encouraging him to push beyond the cruel grip of social conformity. Malik glanced sideways at Ava, her expression unwavering yet tinged with trepidation. Her quiet strength emboldened him, urging him to remain steadfast despite the tumult inside him. In their shared silence lay an opportunity, an unspoken agreement that the journey of discovery was only just beginning. "Maybe you just can't see what's right in front of you," Malik added, punctuating his words with an unwavering gaze at his taunter. The clash of wills sent ripples through the group, a newfound tension building as Malik stood for what he believed.
This wasn't just about Ava. It was about him stepping into his truth. Would their reaction turn to support,
Or would they double down on their distance? Just as the silence grew unbearable, a voice broke through the mire. "You think being different is something worth fighting for?" It was Ava, stepping into the fray, playful defiance sparking in her eyes. The admiration Malik held for her soared, realizing she too was much more than a meek participant in this confrontation. "It doesn't define worth, but it defines us," Malik replied, his voice steady yet ignited with passion. This was a revelation that ignited a fire within them both, the notion that their individual journeys were worth celebrating and defending, not merely enduring the negativity that came with them. As tension sat heavy in the air, Malik concluded, "We're not here to fit into boxes, we're here to break them." He felt the weight of his truth, an anchor amidst stormy waters. But just as a tentative smile broke at the corners of Ava's mouth and murmurs of surprise flickered through their friends, the dark figure snorted, "Good luck with that. You think they'll take that lightly?" The stark reminder felt like cold water splashed on his burgeoning flame, but Malik refused to let his spirit douse his spirit. His journey was precisely about this moment, a test of perseverance, an affirmation of the choice he was making for himself, for Ava, and for the authenticity he was now craving. Would he let the fear of judgment dictate his path? No, he decided. He would stand boldly against it. As his pulse began to steady, Malik realized this confrontation wasn't just one encounter. It represented the series of challenges that lay ahead. It was a preparation for the conflicts he would still encounter, not only socially but within his own mind as he unraveled layers of self-doubt and rediscovered hidden strengths. "Let's go," he declared, turning to Ava with a newfound sense of purpose. "Together, we can face whatever comes next." She nodded, her eyes brimming with determination. With each step into the unknown, Malik could feel the potential for growth resonating through him. What hidden talents resided within him that he had yet to uncover? The world loomed before him, filled with uncharted territories, new understandings, and opportunities for personal evolution. As they walked away from the group and into a future ripe with possibilities, an unsettling thought intruded upon Malik's resolve. What challenges lay ahead that would test not just his newly found voice, but also his bond with Ava? The unknown awaited, beckoning him to discover not only who he was, but who he could become as the pressures intensified around him. Malik and Ava stepped down the dimly lit street, the lingering tension from the confrontation still buzzing in the air. Malik's heart raced, not because of fear, but from an exhilarating realization he had stood up not only for Ava, but for himself. The confrontation had unearthed a latent strength within him, a flicker of potential he had long buried beneath societal expectations and self-doubt. "Do you think they'll really come after us?" Ava's voice, edged with uncertainty, pulled him back to reality. "I don't know," he admitted, rubbing the back of his neck. "But I'm not afraid anymore." He surprised himself with the conviction in his words. Yet beneath this courage lay a creeping worry. Would their friendship survive the impending social scrutiny? As they reached a quiet park, Malik suggested they take a seat on a weathered bench. The crunch of gravel beneath their feet momentarily overshadowed his swirling thoughts. They sat in silence, letting the weight of the moment settle, the adrenaline beginning to wane. It was a strange mix of camaraderie and apprehension that filled the space between them. "What if people don't understand?" Ava finally broke the silence. "What if the judgment only gets worse?" Her vulnerability struck a chord within him. "That's their problem, not ours," Malik responded, feigning confidence, although doubt flickered in his own mind. "We know who we are." He paused, contemplating the words he wished to share. "I've spent so much time trying to fit in, trying to be liked, but it just feels empty. Being with you, it feels different. It feels real." She turned to him then, her gaze piercing through the doubts that veiled his mental dialogue. "Maybe people will surprise us. Maybe standing out will inspire others." An ember of hope ignited in Malik as he listened to her. She was right. There was a merit in bravery, and their mutual resolve could act as a catalyst for change, not just in their lives, but perhaps for others too. A sudden breeze wrapped around them, lifting the tension and replacing it with a shared sense of purpose. Malik reconsidered everything he had ever felt about conforming, about fitting into what was expected of him. Was there a balance he could strike between his individuality and the acceptance he yearned for? This was a personal exploration, and he was now determined to embark on it fully. "What are you afraid of?" Ava's question cut through his internal monologue sharply, each word resonating with the unspoken truths he had yet to confront. "Not being enough," he replied, feeling oddly vulnerable when he disclosed his insecurities. "I've always worried that I'll never measure up to my own standards, let alone others." Ava's expression softened. "Then let's redefine enough. What if we could measure our worth by how genuine we are, how true we stay to ourselves?" The warmth of her words wrapped around him like a second skin, igniting a courageous rift in his spirit.
Malik realized that the journey toward authenticity was not merely a solitary endeavor. It was now entwined with Ava's as they challenged one another to grow. They spoke until the rising moon cast a shimmering glow over the park, an almost magical illumination of clarity.
Each conversation, every moment of reflection, felt liberating, empowered by the promises of solidarity and growth. Every laugh shared, every worry voiced, became a brick laid down on their path toward deeper self-discovery. But as Malik's newfound clarity started to coalesce, doubt began creeping back into his thoughts. What consequences would their choices bring, not just to themselves, but around them? Suddenly, the gravity of their resolve pressed upon him. He turned to Ava, her silhouette outlined by the silver light, and whispered, "What if our fight for truth pushes us away from everyone we know?" Ava's eyes sparkled with quiet determination. "Then we'll create something new together, one step at a time." Malik could feel the foundation of their partnership testing its limits under unseen pressures. How would their intertwined paths fare against the judgment of others? What sacrifices would each have to make for the sake of authenticity? The answers danced just out of reach, taunting him with uncertainty. As they left the park, two souls bound together in determination, Malik could sense the challenges growing larger ahead, looming ever closer. The path to authenticity was fraught with risk, and the real question lingered: would they cultivate the courage to face it together? The following day dawned crisp and clear. Malik woke to the soft rays of sunlight streaming through the window, ordinarily a welcome sight. Today, however, he felt a constricting knot in his stomach, a reminder of the uncertainty that shrouded the path he had begun to tread with Ava. As he stood in front of the mirror, preparing for the day, he took a long look at himself. Who was this person, and how could he bring the emerging strength to life? School was imminent, and with it the specter of confrontation lingered in the air. His mind swirled with thoughts of potential whispers behind his back, the overt or subtle judgment he may face from peers. The laughter echoed in his ears, hollow, cruel, and suffused with preconceived expectations. He resolved to face it head-on, but the strength he felt yesterday wavered under this weight of anticipation. Determined, he approached the cafeteria with purpose, but inside, every familiar face seemed like a threat. He scanned the tables, searching for Ava. Their strategy to encircle each other with strength came rushing back. Together, they could confront whatever lay ahead. Malik's gaze landed on her at a table, a small oasis amid the buzzing crowd. She was a cornerstone, his unwavering reminder of authenticity. When he reached her, Ava glanced up with warmth, her face breaking into a smile that brightened even the dullest parts of his anxieties. "Hey, you," Malik greeted, slipping into the seat across from her. "Ready for another day of bravado?" "Absolutely. We're in this together, right?" Her confidence was infectious, stoking the embers of Malik's courage.
He took a breath, allowing himself to believe in their partnership, to welcome the discomfort of potential backlash. But Malik's resolution wasn't just for their solidarity. A deeper sense of responsibility was taking root. As they discussed classwork, Malik's mind drifted. He couldn't shake the thought of the impact of their choices, how he might leverage the courage he'd uncovered to also be a voice for others who felt oppressed by societal norms. "Did you ever think about how many people are probably feeling as trapped as we once did?" he asked, the revelation unfolding as he spoke. In that instant he understood. Their expressions of individuality could resonate beyond their friendship. This could be part of something larger, an awakening that inspired others. Ava nodded, captivated by his idea. "We could create a space where we share our journeys, where others can share theirs without judgment." The words hung in the air, electric with potential. "Imagine if we organized discussions where people could be themselves, explore who they want to be," Malik continued, excitement igniting in his chest. "We could start small, maybe even a club to discuss identity and experiences." Ava's eyes glistened with ambition. "That's a powerful way to dig deeper into our own journeys while supporting each other. We could help others discover their strengths too." Malik felt as if a door had swung wide open, ushering in fresh possibilities. Yet with each surge of hope blossoming, the specter of doubt reappeared. Who were they to challenge the status quo? What if their efforts drew ridicule, or worse, made targets of those who joined them? He blinked, grounding himself in this new reality. The responsibility of transformation didn't come without fear. They spent the remainder of their lunch plotting the seeds of their club, every word binding them closer,
not just to each other, but to their purpose. Yet Malik's heart raced, grappling with the implications of their plan. What if his pursuit of authenticity led to social exile, not just for him, but for those who dared to join him in Ava? As the lunch bell rang, Malik felt the weight of decisions looming closer. They rose, their conversation echoing in his mind. What risks were they willing to take for the sake of truth? The choice to lean into their fears grew larger with each step toward that doorway. A promise of discovery shimmered ahead, but he sensed the unsettling truth. Every brave step forward carried the potential of crashing down into uncertainty. What awaited them as they dared to voice their truths? Would their new mission strengthen their bonds, or fracture the very foundation they had built? Malik knew they were on the cusp of something significant, but as they exited the cafeteria, the tension of impending consequences lurked just outside. The risk felt alive, buzzing around him like a swarm of bees, and he understood one thing clearly: the fight for authenticity was only just beginning.
As Malik and Ava resumed their classes, a mix of determination and anxiety bubbled within Malik. The hallways buzzed with inane chatter, laughter reverberating off the brightly colored lockers, but he felt as if he were moving in slow motion. The familiar chaos of school felt strangely alien today, like a stage set for a performance he was not quite prepared to engage in. What was their plan, really? It hadn't solidified beyond the initial notion of a club. They needed to refine their vision. In English, while the teacher droned on about the intricacies of Shakespeare, Malik's thoughts raced. He imagined the club they envisioned, not as an isolated meeting, but as a beacon for those grappling with their identities, searching for connection in a world often indifferent to their struggles. He scribbled frenetic notes on the back of his homework assignment, outlining ideas for activities, potential topics for discussions, even names for the club that flickered in his imagination. The excitement of possibility washed over him, yet the shadows of uncertainty clung to his thoughts. What if nobody came? What if they laughed? Malik's hands clenched into fists beneath the desk, nails biting into his palm. It felt as if he were caught in a tug-of-war between fear and hope. Ava's scent lingered in his mind, orange blossoms, a reminder of their shared resolve. He needed to channel that energy, to transform it into something real. After school, they met to discuss their evolving vision, sprawled on a park bench under the warm hues of setting sun. Ava's laughter punctuated the air, each giggle a soothing balm on Malik's frayed nerves. "Let's make the first meeting a casual get-together. We can just throw it out there, see who bites," Ava suggested, her tone light yet purposeful. Malik shifted uneasily. "What if all we attract are the usual suspects? The same people who would never understand." "Then we expand the circle," she asserted. "We make it clear this is for anyone seeking a safe space. Remember, we want those who feel lost, not just those who fit into neat categories." Her words struck a chord deep within him. Could they really create something that reached beyond their own experiences? Malik envisioned individuals who might walk through the door, eyes filled with connection and trepidation, just as he had faced the uncertainty today. As they spoke, Malik began to see clearer pathways branching from their idea. They could reach out to teachers for support, request a classroom space, simple steps that undefined a mountain of potential. But that same flickering nag of doubt buzzed fiercely in his gut. Would their intended sanctuary transform into a battleground of ridicule, a stage for the snickers and jeers he dreaded? While discussing logistics, they crossed paths with a group of students known for their dismissive humor. Malik's heart quickened. The encounter could reshape everything they were trying to build.
They walked close together, fear pooling in the air, cloaking the moment like a fog. One of the students leaned back against a locker, arms crossed, a sarcastic smirk etched on their face. "What, are you two setting up a support group for the sad kids?" he scoffed, his voice dripping with mockery. Malik's stomach flipped, a mix of shame and indignation washing over him. Everything within him screamed to retreat, to hide behind the facade of indifference. He could feel Ava's presence beside him, anchoring him as doubt fluttered in his chest. Did he have a voice worth asserting? Ava stepped forward, her voice steady. "Actually, we are trying to provide a space for anyone who wants to share their experiences without judgment. You should try it sometime." The boldness of her response startled Malik. It stirred something within him. Maybe they weren't just building a club, but a stand against the very narrative that threatened to suffocate them. Malik felt the desire surge. Wasn't this what they had wanted? To confront the voices of hate, to carve out a place of acceptance?
As he took a deep breath, uncertainty tempered by purpose, he found a resolve clenching in the pit of his stomach. The encounter ignited something just below the surface, pushing him to confront his fears head-on. Could their fledgling initiative really withstand scrutiny? "What if we can show that there's strength even in fragility?" Malik whispered to Ava. "Exactly," she replied, the light of excitement reflecting in her eyes. They turned away from the jeers, the potential for conflict igniting a fire. Malik realized it was time to embrace the tangled mess of uncertainty. Their authentic selves were worth fighting for. As they walked away, Malik felt the undercurrent of change rippling between them. What would their first meeting look like, and who would join them on this journey? Would they inspire others to confront their fears, or would they face a harsher reality? As days rolled into weeks, Malik found himself navigating a landscape riddled with both potential and hesitation. The buzz of excitement surrounding their club was palpable, yet tinged with an undercurrent of anxiety that persisted like a shadow. He and Ava poured their energy into crafting invitations, designing a striking flyer adorned with phrases like "find your voice" and "a safe space awaits." Yet every time Malik returned to their benign school walls, a sense of foreboding whispered insidiously at the edges of his mind. What if their efforts fell flat? He began to observe the hallways differently. Each student became a player in a drama of their own, secrets hiding behind smiles and laughter. Malik found himself drawn to the faces that lingered at the fringes, the ones that mirrored his own uncertainty. He was compelled to think of them, their stories unwritten and unspoken, and how he might help them articulate their struggles.
One chilly afternoon, armed with his newfound resolve, Malik approached the cafeteria alone, scanning the chaos of tables filled with chatter. He sat alone, feeling the weight of 1,000 unvoiced thoughts. Here was his opportunity, a moment to break through his own cocoon of silence. Could he muster the courage to reach out to others? Just as he feigned interest in his uneaten lunch, a girl he recognized from his math class sat across from him. Her name was Leela, a petite girl who often seemed lost in thought, her gaze unfocused. Today, however, she looked withdrawn, eyes brimming with something unexpressed. "Hey, Leela," he began, trying to sound casual. "Mind if I join you?" She shrugged, glancing at him before taking her AirPods out. "Sure, I guess." For a moment, silence enveloped them, thick like fog. Malik felt the pressure of words unsaid, as an idea sparked in his mind. I wanted to let you know about a new club we're starting," he blurted out, attempting to keep his tone light. "It's about creating a safe space for people, to share experiences without judgment." Leela raised her eyebrows, interest flickering in her otherwise sullen demeanor. "Really? What kind of experiences?" "Anything, really," he answered, feeling a rush of excitement. "Struggles, triumphs, anything that makes you feel out of place. We want it to be a place where you can just be yourself." Malik could see her walls beginning to crack. "Sounds nice, but what if nobody comes? What if they just laugh?" Her words echoed Malik's own doubts, and for a fleeting moment, vulnerability ensnared him. "That's a risk we have to take," he admitted. "But if we reach one person, then maybe it'll matter. Sometimes strength is found in the balance between being afraid and being brave." For the first time, Malik saw a spark behind Leela's eyes. Curiosity, maybe even hope. As they spoke, Malik learned more about Leela's world, her own battles with isolation and self-doubt striking a resonant chord within him. It was in sharing moments of vulnerability that he felt a unique power emerging. He realized he had been operating under the vast misconception that he lacked the ability to incite change. With every story exchanged, Malik discovered latent strengths within himself. Each interaction fortified his conviction that their club could be a lighthouse in the tumultuous sea of adolescence, guiding lost souls towards safer shores. As they wrapped their conversation, Leela nodded thoughtfully. "I might check out your meeting. I guess it would be nice to talk to people who actually get it." Malik suppressed an urge to leap from his seat in triumph. Instead, he smiled, that initial flicker of hope now a blazing fire in his chest. On the walk home, Malik's steps quickened, a lightness propelling him forward. The club was no longer a burden of doubt. It was a mantle of responsibility he felt ready to embrace.
But just as his confidence swelled, a nagging thought pricked at him. What if his burgeoning sense of purpose clashed with the realities of judgment? What if the insecurities of others bled into their safe space, mutating it into something he feared? That night, as Malik laid in bed, he couldn't shake the apprehension that lingered. Was he truly ready for what lay ahead? The notion of journeying into the unknown both terrified and exhilarated him. Tomorrow, everything could change.
Would their gathering become the sanctuary they dreamed of, or a battlefield where insecurities clashed violently? The answers tantalized him as he drifted off, caught between hope and dread. The moment of truth loomed ever closer. The following morning dawned with a thick layer of anticipation. Malik woke up earlier than usual, a sense of urgency coursing through him. As he dressed, he tried to tamp down the nerves that fluttered in his stomach. Today marked the inaugural meeting of their club, and yet, despite the radiant excitement of the previous day, he felt the encroaching weight of expectation looming over him like a gray cloud. Stepping into the school, he noticed the usual buzz of students, but now the voices around him felt amplified, a cacophony of uncertainty that mirrored his own internal monologue. He swallowed hard, focusing on the moments of connection he had experienced with Leela. What if she showed up today? What if she didn't? Would he be able to handle the burden of expectation all alone if only a handful attended? At lunch, he saw Ava buzzing around like a bee, greeting students with smiles and handing out flyers. Her enthusiasm was contagious, and Malik felt a flicker of hope reignite within him. Yet the moment he approached her, that familiar wave of doubt crashed all over him. What if no one shows? What if we bomb this? Ava stopped and placed a hand on his shoulder, grounding him with a reassuring stare. We're just starting. It doesn't matter how many show up. What matters is that we try, right? Her voice was comforting, like a distant echo of the strength he wished to embody. Feeling the conversation's warmth, Malik nodded thoughtfully. With a renewed sense of purpose, he joined Ava in the commons area where the meeting would take place. The chairs were set in a circle, empty but waiting, as if beckoning to the lost souls they hoped to reach. As the minutes ticked by, doubt began to creep in again. Each passing second felt like a wasted opportunity, and just as Malik opened his mouth to suggest they call it a day, the door swung open. Leela stepped in, more hesitant than before. His heart raced at the sight of her. A combination of dread and exhilaration coiled tightly at his core. "Hey, Leela," he said, forcing a casual air. "I'm glad you came." She shrugged, glancing around the room as though seeking an escape route. "I'm not sure about this," she admitted, her voice almost a whisper.
There it was again, the familiar anxiety he understood all too well, the fear of judgment lurking in the corners of their minds. "Neither am I," he confessed, his heart pounding. "But I think we have to start somewhere." As other students filtered in, a soft murmur filled the space. Malik looked around at faces, some familiar, some not. Each one was a reminder of an untold story, a hidden wound that hadn't been dressed. A knot formed in his stomach. What if he couldn't create the sanctuary they needed? What if their fears shattered this fragile moment of connection? It was then that an unexpected surge of defiance pulsed through him. Malik stepped forward, realizing that he had to set the tone himself. He took a deep breath and began to speak, his voice initially wavering, but gradually gaining strength. "Thank you all for being here today. We're not here to judge anyone. We're just people trying to find each other in this crazy world. Let's make this a space where we can really talk." As he spoke, eyes began to meet his, lingering on his words like moths to a flame. The fear began to dissipate as he poured his heart into the message. Each sentence solidified his conviction that vulnerability had its place here. Leela, sitting quietly, seemed to absorb every syllable. As he continued, Malik felt a curious resolve building inside him, a realization that he had something profound to offer. The awkwardness of that first gathering gradually transformed into something tangible, a shared understanding of their struggles. By the end of the meeting, a handful of students had shared their stories. The reticence that had marked their gathering began to melt, replaced with openness and solidarity. But as he left the room, an unsettling thought lingered just beneath the surface. While they had taken the first step toward vulnerability, would their closed-off hearts falter if faced with serious emotional battles? Malik caught a fleeting glance of Leela, her face lit with a newfound determination, but shadowed by what lay ahead. Tomorrow would bring another chance to connect, to confront the coming challenges. Malik had no idea what awaited him. Would the fragile bonds they started to build withstand the trials of real life? As he walked home, doubts swirling like leaves in the wind, the stakes felt higher than ever. Without warning, he realized it was only just beginning.
As days turned into weeks, Malik found himself navigating through an evolving landscape of emotions and challenges. Each club meeting became a tapestry woven with the stories of diverse individuals seeking connection. There was an undeniable shift taking place. The space Malik and Ava had created flourished into an empowering sanctuary, a haven for those who felt unseen. Yet Malik often sensed the weight of responsibility resting on his shoulders.
With each new face that joined their group, he felt compelled to ensure that their safe haven met the expectations of those searching for solace amidst the noise of the world. He pressed on, determined to cultivate an environment where the stories shared could foster strength instead of fear. One afternoon, while discussing plans for an upcoming meeting, Malik felt the familiar weight of anxiety creeping back. They were exploring new initiatives to encourage participation when Leela raised her hand cautiously, her expression a mix of hope and uncertainty. "What if we had a theme for our next meeting?" she suggested, her voice almost a whisper. "Great idea," Malik replied, his enthusiasm genuine. "What do you have in mind?" Leela's eyes sparkled with a hint of confidence as she explained her idea. "What if we explore identity, like who we are beneath what others see?" The discussion spiraled into a dynamic brainstorming session, energies colliding as students contributed ideas and experiences. Malik could hardly believe the metamorphosis taking place. What had begun as timid participation now morphed into vibrant collaboration. No longer a passive leader, the group drew strength from one another, each contributing to the shared narrative. As the meeting day dawned, Malik felt both anticipation and trepidation. Their club had grown, and with it, expectations soared. He and Ava had planned a dynamic approach to include performances, storytelling, and art. The nervous energy in his gut felt electric, a reminder of how far they had come. "I'm proud of you, Malik," Ava said, sensing his apprehension. "You've turned this into something special." Her words washed over him like a warm wave, grounding him in confidence. When the time arrived, Malik stood before a circle of eager faces, each one holding a piece of their story, including Leela, who, he noted, had become more vocal with each meeting. "Welcome, everyone," he exclaimed, the light in the room flickering with anticipation. "Today, we're exploring who we are beneath the surface. Let's celebrate our individual journeys and support one another in embracing our true selves." The first couple of speakers shared heartfelt insights that painted the room in a tapestry of vulnerability and strength. As Malik absorbed their words, he noticed how fears began to dissipate, replaced by voices uniting to create something beautiful. Then came Leela. Seeming more composed than ever, she took her turn to speak. "I used to think I had to hide parts of who I am to fit in, but here I can be me. I feel strong for the first time." Malik's heart swelled with pride. Leela's bravery encapsulated the very essence of their mission. As the meeting unfolded, Malik felt a surge of fulfillment. They weren't just sharing experiences, they were weaving connections, and Malik understood that his journey mirrored theirs. It wasn't just about initiating change, it was about transforming himself along the way.
However, despite the joyful crescendo brewing among them, whispers began to stir outside of the club. Rumors floated through the corridors like dandelion seeds on the wind. Some peers chuckled derisively, tauntingly spreading phrases like "loser's club," while others displayed a facade of indifference. Malik felt the weight of those words landing squarely on him, an assault on the sanctuary they had created. One afternoon, while walking through the crowded hall, Malik overheard a couple of classmates laughing from a distance. "Look at those losers trying to start a club, precious little snowflakes." That moment struck like thunder. Malik felt a rush of anger welling up inside him, battling against despair. "How can they misunderstand what we're trying to build?" he thought. The pain of their mockery threatened to pull him back into the shadows he had once inhabited. But amidst the chaos of his emotions, another realization dawned upon him. This was always the risk of authenticity. With being true to oneself often came the risk of criticism. In that moment, Malik decided he wouldn't back down. He felt the stirrings of resilience rise within him. After gathering himself, he turned to face the taunting voices. "You think our club is a joke? We're not losers. We're just trying to create a place for everyone who feels like they don't belong. You could join us, but you'd rather sit here and mock us." The unexpected boldness of those words caught even him by surprise. Malik saw the stunned expressions on their faces.
Then a whispering acknowledgement spread through those nearby, the seeds of challenge taking root within them. That encounter transformed Malik. No longer burdened by the weight of fear, he stepped back into the circle of their club with renewed confidence. This was no longer just about support. It was also a call to arms. His vulnerability could pave way for others to rise alongside him in strength. As days rolled into the following weeks, the club flourished. Stories increased in sincerity, voices rang in harmony, and moments of connection blossomed like spring flowers after a harsh winter. Malik no longer felt the pressing anxiety of what others thought. He recognized that this journey was always going to involve risks, and he had the strength to embrace vulnerability openly. At their final meeting of the semester, culminating their shared experiences, Malik stood before the group, and the bittersweet weight of their journey enveloped him. Together, we've proven that our differences are what make us strong. This isn't just a club, it's a celebration of who we are and who we want to be. The applause that erupted felt transformative, resonating through Malik's soul. Each clap affirmed not only the bond they had formed, but also the personal growth experienced within himself. Through this odyssey, Malik emerged not just as a facilitator, but as a transformed young adult filled with confidence and clarity.
His journey had taken him from the chasms of self-doubt into the brilliance of his potential. Malik proved to himself that he could achieve authenticity and solidarity in a world that often tried to tear them apart. As summer approached, he began to visualize a future rife with possibility and joy. He knew this was a beginning, and no matter the challenges that lay ahead, he had the power to forge connections that transcended fear. With certainty nestling comfortably within him now, Malik became a beacon for others searching for strength, someone who would walk alongside them and help create the safe spaces they all craved. It was the ultimate triumph not just of survival, but of true fulfillment. Now, seize the moment to elevate your own journey. Subscribe immediately to unlock more exclusive emotional stories that inspire transformative growth. Leave a like now to nourish the algorithm, fueling this powerful dialogue of personal overcoming. Share your own reactions and theories in the comments below. We're eager to hear from you. Don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion unfold before their very eyes.